Here, let's check the audio so chat doesn't troll me. Quality control. I sound good. I sound crisp, cool, clean, calm, collected. Michael, who's doom pilling you, bro? What is there to doom pill? Thank you, Floor Rider. What's up, guys, gals, or guys and gal? Oh, there's at least one gal here. That's about as far as it probably goes. Let's find chat. Gotta always do this backwards. I want that there, that there. So crispy. Billboard. Oh wow, Rio. Wow. People do. I don't know what it is about my voice, but people tell me they like. I don't know the timbre. What is the prosody, the calmness of it? I think it's disgusting, but Gosp, what up? I mean, the recession threads, like I said, that tweet today, inflation is slightly hot, and all of a sudden, out come from the woodwork all the newsletters about how we're going to zero. Economy's dead. Only 11 likes? Come on, it's a click. It's like I haven't even started yet, but at least you could give me a click. Please, please, sir, madam. Give me a click. Thank you, Keith. All right, we'll get started here. It's 2 o'clock. It's Thursday. You know what time it is. This is why we're here. This is why we do what we do, to front run the boomers. I mean, isn't that what this is all about? These are, for me, if you've been under a rock, let me start over. 10 years ago, this journey was started. 15 years ago, this journey was started. And we're here. Finally got a product, multiple products trading, listed on Legacy. This is important because legacy players are not going to self-custody. They might go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin. They might find products to buy Bitcoin, but these products are game changers because of the access for most people. That's the big picture here, okay? Price, volume, flows, that'll come. I'm not worried about that. Like, people are saying, oh, it's priced in, it's priced in. There are so many places, even today, right now, you can't even trade this stuff. If you're in Vanguard or UBS or some of the others, this stuff's not available. Schwab doesn't even have all of these. As far as I can tell, Webull has them, Robinhood has them. I'm trying to think of like what other. Fidelity has most of them. So that's why this is a big deal. Over time, these will get listed in different places for different reasons. And then you'll have investment committees make decisions on whether or not these should be in a portfolio. You'll have sales teams selling Bitcoin as an allocation slice in a portfolio. Bitwise has done a great job of this over the years, comparing the traditional 60-40 bonds and equities and bonds portfolio with the inclusion of Bitcoin. That's typically where you start. Then the question is, what percentage, right? Do you go 50, 40, 10 as far as, risk? Also, that's another way to think about it, risk versus risk on. That's shifted over the years to like 70-30 or 80-20. It's going to change depending on your age. If you're young, you want to embrace the risk. You want to probably avoid bonds, not investment advice. But this is how these conversations get started, and this is why this is important. Previously, we were having these conversations with REAs or retirement funds or endowments, right? And everything would be all good and gravy until you get to the point where, okay, how are we going to actually execute this? Who's going to be the custodian? Is there a money movement involved, right? So we're eliminating all of that. Some people are very discouraged by that, and they're calling this paper Bitcoin. That's fine, okay? Call it whatever you want. The point is, it's a big tent. We need different products for different people, different products for different companies, corporations, environments. For tax advantaged accounts for individuals, this is excellent. This is a massive win. The fees are next to zero, okay? Like, this is amazing that we've had the fees just basically drop off the table. So there's really the barriers and the excuses and the arguments, the easy friction arguments that were there, like, oh, I'm not going to transfer money to XYZ exchange, right? That's gone. So that's really the biggest piece of all of this, okay? We're unlocking this barrier, this wall, this silo between legacy and crypto. That's it. Okay, so if you're super angry about the ETFs, I wouldn't go farther than, okay, more people can access this now that wouldn't be able to before. That's a huge win. We'll see what happens with the flows and the prices and all the other stuff, but that's step one. The next step over the next week, month, quarter, year is assessing who are the winners and losers here? What do the flows look like? What do the AUMs between all these products look like? GBTC obviously coming out of the gate with 600,000 BTC. They are going to be winning the AUM race. They kept those fees high, which is gross, but that's business. James Seifert at Bloomberg thinks they're going to list another ETF with a much lower fee at a later date. We'll see. It's just continually screwing over the GBTC people. Anyway, the high fee is important because it gives people an excuse to leave, should they choose to do so. Should they choose to do so? So the next step at the end of the day today, or beginning of the day tomorrow, sometimes the flows information is delayed, but the Bloomberg boys, I'm sure, will have it ASAP when it's done trading today. That'll be the next headline. What do the volumes look like in aggregate? What do the flows look like in aggregate? Let me try to find, I just posted the BitMEX of all people has been doing a good job of tracking this live, at least for today. And let me bring the chat back up. Where did it go? Oh no, what did I do? I lost chat. I don't know where it went. Anyway, BitMEX has been doing a good job today tracking this. You can see most of the volume. I know it's probably hard to see on stream, but most of the volume, 47%, has been Grayscale. And then the rest has been basically BlackRock and Fidelity. I think those are the early winners of all this so far. Day one winners, definitely in the top three. Grayscale's AUM should continue to shrink. It should never get bigger. The flows should only be out, not in, based on fees. So with that assumption, at some point, we're going to hit a tipping point. And, this is just like the staking withdrawals for ETH when they opened up staking, right? We were watching that graph over time. You've got people outflows, withdrawing until eventually you hit a tipping point, you hit an equilibrium, and then you start to see net inflows. This is a little tougher because the outflows from Grayscale may be inflows in other stuff. The outflows from Canadian ETFs may be outflows from other stuff. Like, we don't really know for sure. That's something else to track. Those are smaller, but they're also spot ETFs. Anyway, so at the end of the day today, that's going to be the big data piece, is total volume, total AUM, net flows, and then that's going to be the dominant conversation for the next at least year for sure. Like every day, every week, right? We're going to talk about flows, because that's going to be the determining factor here. How long does it take for Grayscale to empty out that trust to the point where the people that want out are out? It may take Thursday and Friday. It may just take 2 days. I don't know. I doubt it. I think it's going to take some time. It certainly helps that we are going up and not down. You know, price was going down. I would think people would have more reason to withdraw from everything, but that includes Grayscale. So classically, that's what people do. And, you know, in a bear market, they sell the bottom. In a bull market, they buy the top. I expect the flows to look exactly the same. Look at all the ARK ETFs. You know, we can look at those flows. Those flows are disgusting because most of the flows came at the very top. Let me just pull this up real quick. This is a great site if you're an ETF watcher, etfdb.com. Let me find what is it under? Fund flows. There's a chart. This is a good chart to look for flows, but is this it? What you need to see is flows versus price. I know Bianco does a good chart on this. Anyway, the point is the flows are almost always at the top of price. I mean, that's just what it is. I don't even think the Bitcoin stuff is in the database yet for most things. So this rollout is going to take time for certain platforms to access this, and then that's going to be slow. Like everything after that's going to be much slower. But if you're a retail participant and you want to trade this stuff, Robinhood's a great place. Fidelity's a great place. Schwab doesn't have most of them, but has a few. I don't know if people are saying Webull has most of these as well. Let me try to find chat real quick before I go any further. Hold on 1 second so I don't flip between all these windows and make people insane. All right. So the big deal, the fanfare, is kind of great. We have it listed. It's working, seemingly. We'll see. The flows arbitrage stuff is also sort of an intraday concern. Do these have a discount? Do these have a premium? Are people arbing between all these 9 products or whatever? Are they keeping the NAV tight to price? You know, just because these have X volume doesn't necessarily mean it's notional because it's BTC per share is what you want to pay attention to. You know, so there's more than just the volume you're seeing on the screen, right? There's a lot more to it. The other thing to understand is price volumes are not the same as flows. Flows are redeem creates of shares of the ETF. GBTC should only have redemptions going forward. It may be continued as a trading vehicle, but realistically, the flows should only be out, right? Because there's no incentive to hold that thing. Whereas the other products, we're going to see inflows, ideally, based on the volumes. So flows and volumes are different. Volumes can drive the flows. GBTC is a special case, right, where they're only going to have outflows, most likely. Not a single person should be buying that product realistically, unless the third point is like liquidity. If liquidity is the best because it's been trading for so long and they have people who know what the product is and are already involved and blah, 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 right? If for whatever reason the liquidity on that product is better, then it may be a great trading vehicle. You'll notice on like some of these, you'll see massive gaps. My face is probably in the way. Let me expand that. You'll see like massive gaps in time or price. That's not good for trading, right? It might be a great holding vehicle, but for trading, that's not what you want, right? You want liquid at all times. You don't want to ever have to deal with this thing hasn't changed in the past 5 minutes, right? To me, the BlackRock ETF looks pretty liquid. It looks good. You know, it looks what you'd expect from BlackRock. But overall, I think things are sort of going as expected, to the point where it's not a massive sell the news. There's, you know, it's just it's a give and take constantly of like, who's trading this? When are the flows going to get here versus the outflows? You know, the traders obviously have probably taken profit on positions at this point. You know, it's just a massive variable that we just have to wait and see over time what the flows look like. But we got it approved after some false starts, which is a great thing. Woof! I wore my orange jacket last week, and people made fun of me mercilessly. So this is what you get this week. Sorry. They said I looked like a deep sea fisherman, which, look, they weren't wrong, but that's why I was wearing what I was wearing. Yeah, so HODL, so there's what, 11 of these? If you're on TradingView, you know, you can add as many panels as you want. I don't think there's a need to see more than 8 of them. I think I'd be surprised if all 11 of these exist by the end of the year. I think 1 or 2 of them are probably going to be absorbed into other funds or some sort of merger. So HODL is in here. I don't know if you guys can see the volume on my chart, but HODL for me, unfortunately, is an early loser based on trading volume. That doesn't say anything about BTC per share. I have no idea, right? All I know is the trading volume is the second lowest, and then Wisdom Tree is almost no volume at all today. It's day one, it's early, this is going to change, but day one impressions, Wisdom Tree, probably not the move. As far as, you know, these products are a cost to the issuer. I think it's like, what, 25 million in AUM you need, depending on the fees, to break even. And if the fees are as low as they are, you need even more in AUM to break even. And if the fees are at 0 for a year, you better have some bank ready to pay for that, because this is not a cheap prospect to hold this up. My 25 million AUM might be based on the futures, so the spot products are probably lower, but nevertheless, you still need, you know, you can't just have an empty product. It costs money to run these products and to trade these products. So the fees aren't just there to make the companies rich. Like, they need, you know, it's a business. They need to make money, right? For some people, they were saying these products might be a loss leader for many of these companies, including BlackRock, who is trying to shift towards like a younger, hipper, cooler audience to get them on board. Whatever, you know, BlackRock's got the money. They can afford to have one losing ETF. I'm sure they have many losing ETFs that they close from time to time, but that's good for the consumer, good for us. So it's ETFs day one. Looks really good. It looks really good. I mean, the last thing you want is to have 12 products list and then nobody's trading this stuff, or there's no interest. It was all over Bloomberg. It was all over CNBC. It's all over all the financial press. I saw so many people giving Vanguard shit for not trading any of this stuff. There is fierce attention on this stuff, which is great to see. Love to see it. A maybe ancillary next step is Kraken, Coinbase, Binance all lowering their fees as they start to feel pressure from people. Hopefully this is a big wake-up call to them, especially Coinbase, who charges crazy amount of money for trades. All right, let me look at chat. Wick is bullish as hell. bullish AF. 3 billion in volume on most noobs are worried about price. That's the thing. Like, look, it's the first day of school. You know, we can read the syllabus or whatever people do on the first day of school anymore. I'm not worried about it, right? We got here, we got our new clothes on, our new shoes. We made the bus on time, right? Whatever, I'll take it. You know, it's amazing we even have this stuff in the attention that we have. Yeah, so it is billions of volume, Queen Satoshi for sure. The BitMEX list here said what, 5 billion total trading? 3.3 billion of that is new products. Depending on how they're going to sort this out, it will make records for sure, because the total day one volumes for most ETFs is not this high. The problem is we have a conversion product. You know, what I'd love to see is numbers on what is the day one gold trading volumes adjusted for inflation relative to day one Bitcoin. I think that'd be super interesting to see. I'm sure somebody will figure that out. But so far so good. Nothing broke that we know of yet. Things look okay. Things look okay. People can access this in some places, mostly. I'll take that as a win. I'll talk about CPI later on the stream, but one thing also to just keep note of is what's Legacy doing right now. Legacy is kind of down slightly. IWM, the low caps were down 3% plus on the day earlier. So, you know, Legacy isn't exactly happy right now, mainly because CPI was slightly higher than expected, pricing out rate cuts a little bit. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second, but let me just read chat here. Yeah, people have told me to do ASMR. I just have never done it. Yes, if you want me to look at anything, we can look at it. Realistically, if it doesn't have a 3-day chart that has signals on it, I don't really care at this point. Forever bull. Yes, 333K by July 2025. That's the target. RFox. Sure, I guess. Do I need to write these down? Somebody else wanted me to look at render. We'll look at that. RFox. ETC had a crazy move overnight. Oh, somebody just mentioned it. No, I didn't. My ETC target is 100, so I don't really care about. Yes, it's up 50% in a day, which is absurd, but I think the cycle high would be much higher. Nothing wrong with taking profit on a 50% day for sure, but I think it goes much higher than that. Link ETH. Okay. That's the thing about these alt rotations I talked about earlier this week. I would check any alt against ETH, because if that chart doesn't look good, then to me it's not worth rotating into. That's just me. Okay, there's GRT VRA. All right. So that is ETFs. We look good. We'll find out at the end of the day. You know, the big step was just getting it approved. Let's get this stuff, you know, out the door and going. The other big news today, I guess, USDC announced an IPO. Well, they didn't announce it. They filed confidentially. I just don't know as a business who wants to invest in that and why. So, you know, you give USDC $1, they send that dollar to BlackRock. BlackRock puts that in short-term treasuries. They collect a yield on that. They pass some of that yield on to you as a customer on Coinbase. I don't see a great business for USDC at the moment, you know, especially with the very flat flows. USDT, on the other hand, is minting money left and right because they're not rev sharing with anybody, and they have almost 100 billion in AUM. So they make a ton of money on short-term treasuries and reverse repo and all that other stuff. But USDC makes not as much as, it's still 25 billion, but I don't see how that's an investable company. I guess they're just hoping it's a US company that people want to have a piece of. I don't know. I don't see it as a very good company personally. Just reading chat again. Yeah, so the full list where you can't purchase this stuff is Vanguard, Citi, Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, UBS, Fidelity and Schwab look to be the first day one. Stables look good though, as far as the flows. We haven't really seen alts, I would argue, aside from today, but I don't think today was based on stablecoin inflows. We haven't really seen an alt reaction that you'd expect based on these flows. The last uptick over here, we saw a crazy drive in Total 2. We haven't really seen that yet in Total 2. I guess we can take a look at that as well. Bitcoin spot looks fine. I don't think, looking back on this in a decade, I don't think you'd be able to pinpoint where the ETF was launched. Like, it's just zooming out. There's points of volatility, but overall, I think we look fine. We look fine on chart pattern. Sadly, hit the target already today at 49K. Now I'm just looking at the ascending triangle here. Rough measuring that on the fibs gives us a target between 47 and 49. So it's still bullish, looks okay. Chart pattern effectively hit its target. The cloud on the 8-hour looks fine. It's not screaming anything right now to me. The daily looks fine. No issues here. The real question is, like, what does everything else look like and what do you do? This isn't trading advice hour, but, people are asking and talking about what do you do with coin positions, Coinbase. What do you do with the miners? What do you do with GBTC? What do you do with BitX? What do you do with any, options anywhere else? Those are all things to consider. I know a lot of people were probably more bullish on that stuff leading into today, expecting more maybe. But I don't know, we got what we got on day one. We'll see what the flows look like for the week. Things look okay, right? Could be a lot worse, obviously could be better, but from a price action perspective, this wasn't, to me, it wasn't a sell the news. If it was a sell the news, we would be at 40, right? So if this is all we get on sell the news, that's another win for sure. For me, anyway. But spot Bitcoin looks fine. ETH has had quite the move on the fake SEC tweet, which, of course, in the most crypto way possible, was hilarious that happened. I just don't know what you do with most of this stuff now. Again, nothing here is screaming to me like this is super bearish, this is an automatic reversal. I think you still have to wait this out a little bit. The daily candle on ETH, maybe that's in a shooting star or inverse dragonfly. I just think you have to give like the rest of the week a little bit of a breather based on the volatility of the news. I think everybody's kind of like so shocked at everything, not in the sense that it got passed, but like the are we back, is it over, cycle. Your amygdala is just like firing over and over again. So I think that's going to take some time to like reset everything. Okay, we got the products, it got approved, great, right? So I think that's going to take some time. The weekly ETH chart, to me, still has a little bit of an upside. That risk reward trade is diminished at this point. You know, it's still pointing slightly higher. I think over time it definitely goes higher. It's just, you know, what is your time horizon? What do you want to do? Are you in this thing because you think an ETH ETF is going to be next? I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. Yes, the two reasons it gets passed. Here's the two reasons. The first reason being BlackRock has a spot application. Okay. The second being there's ETH futures products. Okay. If BlackRock pulls their application, which I'm not saying is going to happen, I'm just saying this is what to look for. If they pull their application, that means that the ETF will probably not get approved. I highly doubt they let it go to the finish line and let it get denied. So that's the next headline to watch for if you're the ETH ETF enjoyer or expector. If BlackRock pulls their application, that's good night for the ETF, most likely. TA wise, we look fine. I don't think there's any issues here. With everything, with alts, with the miners, with Coinbase, with MSTR, it's like, where will the beta be to Bitcoin? No one could access this stuff before. Now they can access spot. Great. Does that mean the beta on other stuff is going to diminish? Does that mean we're still going to have the alt beta that we've had? Are we still going to see the rotations that we've had? I think the like MSTR, for example, this trade looks to me in the moment to be over. That isn't to say this won't continue to go higher. I just think we have better products now, in my opinion. There's some math behind why this probably doesn't continue to overperform. Along with Coinbase, you know, Coinbase is going to be a yin and yang between what do the volumes look like? Do they bring fees down? Do they care about fees? Do the fees even matter? Because on the retail side, you know, they kind of rob people without them knowing on the fees. What does the AUM look like for the custody business? Does the business continue to expand? You know, all that is part of the questions here. This did reach its target as far as the inverted head and shoulders. It is in the weekly cloud still, so I'm not going to rule out like 200 plus sooner rather than later. I think the cycle, this is going to easily hit all-time highs. It's just like, do we go to 108 first? I don't know. A lot of people wouldn't sit through that. Wouldn't rather sit through that? Yeah, I don't think we're getting a Monero ETF or a Solana ETF. No chance. Not anytime super soon. Not until 2027 at the earliest. That's just not going to happen. There's just no way. They barely passed the Bitcoin ETFs. The last thing they want to do is pass anything else. That includes ETH. I think that's going to be tough. I honestly think that's going to be tough. So we'll see. But the real question for a lot of people is, okay, what goes on with the miners now? What goes on with coin? I think a lot of people have been trading the miners because they couldn't access spot and they were excited about the ETF prospects, right? It makes sense. So again, does the beta amplification diminish? Does it remain the same? I think it does diminish. I think it's still a part of the ecosystem and a part of what happens in a bull market. You know, nothing looks particularly happy today, but I'm not worried about, you know, miners broadly. This looks okay to me on the cloud. This isn't bearish. Obviously, pulling back. What do they pull back from the top? Like 30% from the top. You know, that's not bullish, but the trend looks okay. There's a broader pattern on the chart. You know, that's clearly another inverted head and shoulders. Might morph into a cup and handle. I don't know. Like, it looks okay. It looks okay. I'm not particularly concerned about that one. Marathon. same thing. To me, it looks fine. You know, it's in the weekly cloud. This stuff was up 300% last year. You just have to be patient with stuff like this. Sorry, 1,000%? Is that right? One other thing you could do with any chart, you can always just turn on the fractals, go to the daily, and from your entry, let's say you entered at 1372 on the Mara chart. Have we broken a bullish fractal is the question on a close? Not until today. Today we will likely break that 2263 close. So the fractals are telling you if you're trading this on the near term, you're probably closing your position if we close below 2263. That's how I would read these trailing stop losses. And you know, you can go through, look at all the charts like this. The Bitcoin chart looks totally fine. We actually haven't had a close below the trailing stop loss fractals since 28K. So to me, again, it's just another way of saying this is still very much a live trend. The stop loss here would be 43.3 on the daily fractals. ETH, I don't think ETH has closed below a daily fractal since the breakout at 1750, right? I don't think so. Wicks don't count. You want closes below. So currently on ETH, stop loss is at 2171. So if you are a bull market enjoyer that you think this stuff's going to run, I don't think there's any hurry to close anything up here based on pullbacks or whatever, right? I don't think nothing looks bad enough to me that's like, oh, screaming. WGMI miners obviously aren't happy. But they've also, you know, they were up what percent since October? 300. And we can go down the list. We can look at Sol. Sol has not had, okay, so it did have one stop loss breach there. So right now the Sol stop loss would be 83, and you know, you can just go through 88 clearly broke a stop loss, Dot clearly broke a stop loss, Link definitely, Aave definitely, SNX definitely, ETC, right? So you can just go down the list if you're trading this stuff near term or on leverage. This is literally what I use for stop losses. So I know it works. It works really, really well. Very rarely does it fake you out. It's called Williams fractals on TradingView. But overall, things look great to me. Things look great. What's up, Dave Dangles? Yeah, ETC. So why is ETC up? As Doppel, follow him on Twitter if you don't know who I'm talking about. Doppel Ichi. He clued me into the Koreans. The Koreans really like ETC for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if there's a Korean version of BitBoy pushing ETC. There could be. Who the hell knows? But the whole reason this is even a trade or a setup mainly is the 3-day. You know, the 3-day to me has looked incredible for many days. So whether or not this stops here, goes to 100, I don't care. It still looks great. It still looks fine. I'm not closing anything. I think the upside potential, the multi-month upside potential is still there. You tend to see moves like this, stupid moves for no reason, on charts that have been compressing for an extremely long time, right? The first step was like finding some sort of bottom. Not quite a falling wedge, but Adam and Eve is in there, the cloud, right? We got through the 3-day cloud. This is another win for the cloud and the cloud settings, by the way. You know, we didn't make this move until we got out of the cloud. So it looks good. You know, this is the stuff you want to look for. And you can go down the list. SNX, similar. Aave, similar. What else is on here? Algo. Sure, right? Like, I'm not married to this community or the fundamentals. I could care less about any of that stuff. I'm just looking at the chart. The Altcoin, same thing. Filecoin looks absolutely phenomenal. Filecoin is easily one of the best looking charts because it's done nothing for 2 years. 2 years. It's at range highs. This is an Adam and Eve all day. There is, I'm just making sure my stupid head's not in the way. There's a large Adam and Eve. There's an Adam and Eve under that Adam and Eve. I mean, there's so many reasons why this thing should keep going. So I don't know if it's this week, next month, 6 months. I have no clue. I don't care. But I want to have a bag of this, and I do, just in case it does run, right? Where could this go? Well, the other reason you're in this is because it has a crazy upside based on the cloud, right? Anything between 60 and 120 is this is Josh's spot. Josh's spot to sell. Okay. Anything up here. And again, I don't care anything about the fundamentals. I don't, now is not the time to pretend that matters because it just doesn't. And I'll put an alert at 61, and that's a 10x at least from here. Easily one of the best setups and charts. Easily. Does that mean throw all of your money at this? No, I have a sliver. I have like $2,000 in this right now. Okay, I have nothing. But you can always add to that as this breaks out. So what you can do is put another alert down here and say, okay, reminder, I'm gonna add to this position down there. And that's what I'm gonna do. Probably double or triple the size and just hold it. That's it. My mouth closer to the mic? We tested the audio. It was good. The problem is if I'm too close, then you can hear my mouth noises. And that really bothers me. I know there's an echo in here, but... Yeah, Brian, I did do a video on the Williams fractals. You can find that on my channel if you just search fractals. ETC ran hard at the end of last cycle. Yeah, the alt moves that we're seeing now are problematic potentially for, continuation in the majors. Sorry for the keep losing my voice. Is this late cycle things, right? We're getting product listings, we're getting altcoin moves, Bonk has moved, Solana moved. It's pre-halving. How much more can we really expect? I don't know if that's exactly the right way to look at this. The weekly cloud on Bitcoin, by the way, looks phenomenal still. If we can hold above 42 into halving, I mean, that is a massive win above the weekly cloud. Nothing here is telling me, like, you need to close. This looks bearish. There's no chart pattern on high time frames. There's no ugly candlesticks. We look good. We still look good. We can look at RSI. We can look at MACD. We can look at whatever we want. Nothing yet is telling me that this is going to roll over. Do we have bear divs? Yes, we do. Do we still have a daily bear div? I tweeted out this the other day. You would have thought I killed a whole orphanage of kittens telling people, be careful, there's a bear div. This whole thing's a continuous bear div. A multi-month bear div. That's not a good sign. So yeah, we will pay our price eventually there, for sure. But in the moment, we look okay. We look fine. Volume is maybe a poster. So I actually have, I have the sound dampeners. I have like a ton of them. The problem is I don't want to ruin the wall and mark up the wall. Anyway, everything looks good. Everything looks good. If you're rotating around, I would look at, let's look at Filecoin against ETH, right? I think ideally you're riding ETH. you are writing ETH and then taking profits into Filecoin or cash. But this is looking to me like it's ready to bottom. It doesn't look super convincing that it's the bottom, but it looks just about as good as it does on the USD side of things to me. You know, maybe this is some sort of broadening wedge megaphone. And this is just one example of alts right now. Somebody wanted me to look at Link, so let's do that. Link ETH. All right. Link ETH looks fine. I don't really have anything specific to say about that. I think a lot of the alts, Solana ETH, a lot of these like need time to readjust the pair, because Solana had this crazy run where ETH did nothing. Now ETH is going to have this run where Solana is going to do nothing. So we're going to find some sort of equilibrium. I'd rather look at coins that, you know, again, I can't believe I'm talking about Filecoin as much as I am, but I'd rather look at coins that look like this, that look like they're bottoming on the USD pair. They look like they're bottoming on the ETH pair. Even like somebody was talking about ETC. ETC ETH. I mean, this isn't pretty, but it doesn't look like it's going lower. I don't know, that's an ugly chart right there. Thanks, Patrick. If I give you $100, could I double it? Yeah, I'd throw it all in Filecoin. That's how good I think that chart. That's how stupid that chart is, okay? Like, the stupidest chart will probably do very well. One of the reasons why ETC did really well. What haven't I talked about? I talked about miners, coin, MSTR. Square is another one. I think this looks really good. Crypto adjacent. You know, a lot of times I feel like I'm repeating myself, but what I'm really looking for are these setups more than anything. Like, it helps that it's crypto adjacent. It makes sense that it's doing as well as crypto stuff is. This looks good to me. This looks really good. We can turn on the yearly pivots. It's right at the yearly pivot. You know, you could put an alert for, let's just do that now. We can put an alert for the cloud at the, what is it? I always forget what they name this. Not base, is it lead? So lead 1. So this would be an alert crossing lead 1. No, sorry. Price crossing Ichimoku lead 1. Okay. So now when this crosses the cloud, you know, that's an edge-to-edge entry reminder as an alert. Hood is another one. Like, look, this chart has gotten massively beaten down. Maybe they will get acquired. I don't know. Maybe this will retrace back down to 7 or lower. But this is the type of chart where things happen. Things tend to happen on charts where the price has bottomed for 2 years. This looks as good to me as some of these alts do that have just done nothing, right? 46 would be like the moonshot target based on the wick. If we take the other fib, 30. So 30 to 40 is a crazy move from here. That's a 3 to 4x on Hood. If crypto does well, Hood retail trading should do well. But I think this chart looks insane to me. Absolutely insane. I've tried to play this a few times. I was a little early, but I think this is another great candidate for a long-term hold. Just based on the technicals. Yeah, I was talking about some of the exchange tokens like DYDX, GMX, the DEX DeFi stuff. GMX, divided by ETH. Yeah, I agree. Like, it looks like it's almost time to rotate out of ETH and into some of this other stuff. Almost. What you'd want to see is this W double bottom playing out. Maybe this morphs into an inverted head and shoulders. Maybe it fails and goes lower. I don't know. I think it's a little early to say like, yes, this is the bottom, but I agree. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. GBTC ETH, the pair. Sorry, ETH GBTC. That was another one I was watching as like a trading idea. Let's get rid of all this stuff. It obviously is ETH BTC, but it kind of looked like it wanted to bounce around 0.6. And it never did, but the difference now is that there's a discount on ETH to the tune of like 15%. It's the same type of trade as the GBTC discount trade. It's not as juicy as it was at like 60% discount. But if you're confident that ETH is going to get approved as or converted as an ETF, that's a viable setup, right? If you like ETC, we've talked about this a bunch, but if you like ETC, ETCG has a 50% discount to spot. This chart looks great. Chart looks really good. So these are, just trading ideas. I'm throwing them out there. I don't own any ETCG. I have a little bit of ETH. I have 0 GBTC. I sold that all today. Guess I'll talk about that for a second. GBTC probably keeps going. I don't care. I'm out. I'm happy. I got my pound of flesh. It looks a little parabolic to me. And I can't pull up the discount anymore because it doesn't exist, but it's completely closed, right? The next question is like, is this chart going to decouple from spot? I don't think so. I think the trade is over, right? I think if you played the discount or if you played the lows here, great. And you just rotate into another ETF if you want to. You rotate into spot, you rotate into ETH, or hell, there's this basket stuff like GDLC that has a discount. That's a obvious triple top head and shoulders on GDLC, so I wouldn't touch that here, but GDLC has a discount still. BitW has a discount still. BitW looks better to me than GDLC. So those are options. Those are trading setups. Would I rather touch this over like Filecoin? Again, I would rather trade Filecoin personally, but that's just me. Yeah, so Keith is right. At end of day, it happens a little bit intraday, but realistically, it's at the end of the day is where we see the rebalances happen for all these products. So again, we probably until like beginning of day tomorrow, maybe pre-trading, we'll know a lot overnight, obviously, but if there's a crazy sell-off on spot, it's because somebody redeemed a bunch of shares on GBTC and they needed to, correct the discount. So we'll find out, right? It's hard to tell intraday what's going on. What else can we talk about? I guess let's go. Yeah, okay. So let's go through these alts real quick. GMX, I'll just look at on the USD side, super quick. Yeah, we had talked about this one probably 2 weeks ago. Inverted head and shoulders all day. Looks great, right? If you're just trading the USD pair, I think it looks fine. I think you've got the tailwind of risk on type stuff coming back to the market. So that should be good for the exchange tokens. Not something I would trade, but again, we're just here to talk about trading setups. This Carvana chart looks amazing to me. Okay, it looks really good. Now this thing's already up, whatever percentage, I get it, but this pattern is the real deal. It measures to, what is that, a 2x? A little more, we'll call it a 2x conservatively. Not bad. Not bad. Doesn't make any sense. This company should have already gone to zero. It should not do well in a high rate environment, but it looks great, right? If nothing else, stick it on the watch list and just, in the periphery, watch it play out. See if the TA is accurate on that one or not. Render. Most of the alts that are worth trading to me, I talked about in the video earlier this week. Render looks good. You're adding on dips, you're holding. Trend looks great on the 3-day. Trend looks fine on the daily. If you get a bearish TK cross, to me, I would get out of this position. If I got a fractal breach, which you already have, this is kind of noisy, so it's tough. You did get a fractal breach at 430. You're probably going to get a bearish TK cross on the daily. Let's go to AVAX as an example. AVAX probably gets a bearish TK cross here. Rune already has a bearish TK cross on the daily. So the next step for this would be to watch for the settings to just flip back to bullish, right? Price above cloud, bullish TK cross. That could happen. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but that's where I would touch this. I wouldn't touch this here. I wouldn't even think about it. Link, kind of the same. It had a nasty looking triple top, right? Tried to break down, didn't. I don't know what you do with this. I'm holding like a small, tiny portion of what I have left from the breakout, but this isn't screaming bullish or bearish either way at this point. I wouldn't add any of this to any of this stuff personally until it's back above the range highs, which would be like 17 in Link's case. You could probably cheat it at like 1650 or something. But it doesn't look like, it doesn't look like Zcash, right? We can go to that chart if you want to go dumpster diving. Again, I don't know why you would want to trade anything like this. I don't know why people pay attention to charts like this. You can love the technology. You can believe that it has a future, but you don't need to hold the token to zero, okay? That's all I'm saying. Okay, RFox. Somebody wanted me to look at. Sure, RFox. RFox looks okay. Looks like kind of Adam Evie, double bottomy, ascending triangle-y, It looks like it potentially is trying for something, right? Doesn't look horrible. Looks better than Zcash. That's for damn sure. GRT. The graph. This was another really good one. I didn't talk about it on the video because I can't access it through Kraken. You can probably get it through a DEX, but similar to Filecoin, like this chart looks really good for potential mean reversion play. I would not mind holding something like this throughout the cycle. Target would be 71. So that's what? A 4x plus at least. Looks good. Yeah, I talked about Uni yesterday. Uni looks fine to me. I don't think there's any issues there. for all of DeFi, the issue is regulation. If the US comes down on the regulation front, which they might, then what? Good night, DeFi. It'll exist, it'll run, it'll be fine. You won't be able to access it as an American unless you're using certain means around. Yeah, I'm not looking at a hex chart, sorry. But I would be careful about putting all your eggs in the DeFi basket this cycle, for sure. VRA. Is it a crypto or the company Vera Bradley? Probably was asking me about the crypto, but pretty interesting chart, right? Kind of like that Bed Bath & Beyond descending broadening wedge. I think it's what it's officially called. Anyway, VRA. What is this nonsense about to be? Just looks like it's ranging to me. You know, it's like LTC. Like, why? Why are people trading this? I just don't get it. You know, there are just so many better things to trade than this piece of junk. Like, if you're going to trade an alt, again, back to Filecoin, like, that's the chart I want to pay attention to. I'm not going to stick around for some ranging nonsense. This chart looks like garbage to me. Absolutely garbage. Sorry, Litecoin enjoyers. BTSC looks just as good as it did last time I looked at it. Apparently, it's got a big Adam and Eve on it. It is almost through the 3-day cloud. Probably through the 3-day on the legacy settings. Yeah, looks good. BTCS looks really good. Is this a miner? What is this? I don't actually know. Caspa, sorry, yeah. Probably looks fine. I'm trying to remember what this one looked like. Kind of a ranging mess, that's for sure. Let's go weekly. Daily. So it's ranging hard. It does have a bullish breakout on the cloud. It does have kind of a W quality to it. It looks okay. Doesn't look horrible. Get rid of that. Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. It kind of looks like Rune, right? Rune is like some variation of that, where it's not quite out of the cloud yet, but that's the type of thing you'd want to look for continuation. I agree, Philip. I can't. I keep asking myself, do I own enough Filecoin? I don't. I think the answer to that is no. I think the answer to that is no. This chart looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. Sure. What is this stuff? What is this? Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I'll give you that. It's got that, you know, kind of like Bonk. The other types of charts where things happen is you just have this death falling wedge forever, right? It looks okay. It's clearly broken out already. Does it move another 500, 450%? I don't know, but it looks good. Speaking of, what is Bonk doing these days? Bonk is holding up. I would not touch this. I would not trade this. I'd forget about it and never think about it again. I don't care if it moves up another 10,000% without me. That just ain't for me. Tia, someone's asking. Let's take a look. If this is a cycle darling, as far as like everybody and their mother loves this chart or loves this coin for a fundamental reason. Again, there's nothing to do. You're just buying dips and you're holding for a year and a half, for 6 months. Like, this chart still has a bullish bias. It looks great, right? But I don't know where this could go. I don't know. Upside, I have no idea. Like, this could be at 160 in 6 months. It could be at 8. I have no idea. I have no idea. XMR, yeah, all the privacy coins are slowly getting delisted. So just got to keep that in mind. Price will suffer if coins get delisted. That's just how it be in the game. The chart looks okay, but it also looks like a ranging mess. Like, it had its opportunity to break out and didn't. And, you know, you put this against BTC, and I think it looks quite awful. Yeah. It's just, you know, I'd rather trade Bitcoin than Monero for sure. BTCC is the Canadian Bitcoin ETF. Yeah, so the question I have, again, regarding flows is, I don't know anything about the Canadian Bitcoin ETFs. What are the things to pay attention to? What are the fees? What are the flows? What is the AUM? Are the American products accessible to the Canadians? I think the answer to all those questions is our products are better in every way possible. So I expect outflows from these products. This chart looks like GBTC though, right? Ish. Looks like more like spot Bitcoin probably than GBTC, but kind of towards this parabolic advance. It looks okay though. Doesn't look horrible by any means. I think this is in Canadian dollars, not USD. So that's something to pay attention to for sure. You also have to figure out what the BTC per share is. You know, like, it's not as simple as what is the price, what is the volume. It goes a little bit deeper than that. Does this not have... This is the Canadian ETH ETF. Oof. Yeah, back to the liquidity conversation. There's not a lot going on here. What is this, like one trade every week? Started trading in July. I would not want to touch this because of liquidity. You know, volume is really bad. Getting in and out of a position would be terrible. I would not want that. I would not want to deal with that. Ray used to be my darling before it broke out. Some of you probably remember this. Many streams ago, when I said Ray was one of the best looking charts. Very similar to what Filecoin looked like, or looks like now. You know, it's got that, had that inverted, not inverted head and shoulders, Adam and Eve quality to it. Looks good. It's pulling back. I don't know. I mean, take profit on a double, do nothing for a year. All great options. 50% retrace would be like an 8x from here-ish. Yeah, I mean, if this whole ecosystem continues to do well, Ray should do well, and anything in this whole ecosystem should definitely do well. Do I stake my ETH? I do not. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't really hold ETH that long. I'd rather just trade it. Yeah, sushi is another one. The chart looks great. Can't deny it. Chart looks good. The question for sushi is, I think I have an alert on this, don't I? Yeah, I have an alert at this 134 level. The question is, does it range below 134 for another 6 months, or does it actually start to break out. So I like this in probably 2 or 3 weeks. It's almost ready. Almost ready. What's up, bud? Yeah, Decred is another one. Like, you know, to me, Tia, the flavor of the month stuff, reminds me of the older flavor of the month stuff that you don't even hear about anymore. Decred doesn't look bad. I just don't know. You know, it's like ETC. It would need somebody to care about it for this thing to actually run again. This would be at the bottom of my watch list as far as things that could actually have a move, and that would be post halving. So I would almost like set a vertical line alert on this after halving, and then revisit. Like, is it in the weekly cloud? What do rates look like? You know, what is the macro economy vibes? Do we have a recession? Yeah, but you know, I will add an alert because why not? Ichi lead one doesn't look completely horrible several months from now. That's my read. Not that you asked me to look at it, you just reminded me that it existed, that's all. Pivx, that's another dinosaur. Absolute dinosaur. Looks fine. It looks like that other chart that had the ascending triangle. I just think there's so much better stuff to trade than stuff that looks like this. Like, this could go sideways for another year and a half. No thanks. Goldfinch. Yeah, the RWA thing. Doesn't look horrible up here. Kind of reminds me of Rune. Looks okay. You know, I think if you're in it to win it, and you think RWA is going to be a thing this cycle, sure. You know, that's no guarantee that things like Maple or Goldfinch, the token, are going to do well. But that's something to consider. Same thing with Maker. Maker's in the RWA conversation for sure. Maker doing really well today. Don't know why. Yeah, Maker is having a day. Not something I really look at a lot, but looks good. You know, like the trend is higher. Looks bullish. It tried to break down and didn't. I'd rather trade Maker over Goldfinch and Maple, personally. Where do you guys find these alts? Like, there's like 100 other things that are better to trade than literally any of this stuff. I just don't get it. Digibyte, man, another throwback. I don't know, man. This is the type of chart that's like, is this thing just dead? The problem as you go down the market cap list is just like, will this thing actually ever come back? You know, is this going to get delisted? I guess it looks okay. You know, it looks okay. Yeah, Tezos, I mean, sure. Somebody wanted me to talk about that. Kraken, sure. Yeah, I mean, Tezos looks as good as Filecoin. It's just, do people care about Tezos enough to trade it? I don't know. Like, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's a setup. It's definitely a setup. It has a pretty large edge-to-edge move. 4-5x easy if that plays out. I don't think it plays out all the way, but I do think you get a move out of this. To me, it looks like ADA, if we put the, I guess it doesn't matter, but Tezos and ADA look the same to me. ADA just farther along. Yeah, near we can look at. Yeah, same thing. Looks like Tezos, looks like ADA, looks like AVAX a little bit. Ideally here, we get a pullback on Bitcoin that's like, I don't know, 10 to 30%, whatever it is. And then we get like a 60% pullback on some of these alts. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be like overexposed now, hoping that they go higher. They've already had crazy runs. Like this has had a 300% run already. I want to be ready for a move down to like 2 on near. Like that's where I want to be, But it looks good. I'm not going to deny that it looks good. Any thoughts on the left translated cycle? Yeah, if there's anything that can break as we're back to 47 here, let's go. If there's anything that can break the 4-year cycle, it is truly a new paradigm of flows, right? There are people that say, let's pull up the other chart. Hold on, where is it? This one. There are people that say, we've only had cycles of diminishing returns. We will only continue to have cycles of diminishing returns. As in each cycle, the highs are percentage-wise lower. I'm not going to disagree with that idea, hypothesis, thesis. But if there's anything that could change that, it's this wall of money that's potentially going to find its way into crypto. Like nobody owns this stuff. Nobody. If you're on the stream, you are a percentage of a percentage that owns crypto, watching and learning and talking about it. Most of the world, especially the developed world, has never cared to think about this stuff. I think personally that we will be surprised to the upside on the eventual cycle high. I also think we will be surprised that these cycles will dissolve. I think we're going to be more coupled with legacy. We're going to be even more coupled with liquidity. I think that's going to be more important. Having in this current moment in the next 3 months is obviously incredibly important for the narrative. It's important as people are learning and understanding what this stuff is, what it does. It's really good from a sales perspective. Again, like if you're trying to convince somebody to buy this and you're listing off like there's only 21 million every 4 years that the emissions decrease by half. Oh, by the way, this year Bitcoin has less emissions as a percentage than gold, less inflation than gold. I mean, that is just like, you're just lighting up people's minds with the potential here. And then you model, you back test it, right? As I talked about in the beginning, and where does this fit in a portfolio, all that stuff, modern portfolio theory stuff. The other thing, I retweeted this, the quilt, the 10-year quilt. Let me just find it real quick. Where, like, we know if you're on the stream, right, or if you're paying attention to crypto, like we know certain things about what's happened over the years, whether or not you've been here for 1 or 2 cycles or whatever. But to present something like this to somebody and say, look, this thing is beating the pants off the S&P most of the time. It has beaten other risk instruments most of the time. It has certainly beaten gold most of the time. This, to me, would, if I knew nothing about Bitcoin, I would say, wow, what is this Bitcoin thing, right? Like, that's weird. Why is it up every 3 years and then down a year. So it's stuff like this that changes people's minds slowly, and then they start to accept the volatility and the percentage in a portfolio, blah blah blah, right? So all this is just a huge win for Bitcoin. Huge. Did I say it was huge? Because it's pretty huge. I mean, it's just such an easy sell to me. Where was I in chat? Definitely wait to buy ETC after today. Yeah, I wouldn't buy anything at a 50% move on the day. That includes today for ETC. So the TLDR here is, look, I like 333K. What's the 333K by July 2025? Here we go. That's my number. Yes, it's not that high. It's like here. Like, that is a reasonable topside power law corridor target. Okay. This gets moved up a little bit. Almost at 300 already. Anyway, I really like this setup potentially. I think it looks great. All right, we talked about that. So I think it's both left translated and a new cycle style. I think what this is going to look like is going to change. And over time, it's going to change even more. I think the 4-year cycle breaks down over time. Past year, I've been trying to find larger multiples than BTC, and it has been a losing trade. Why would that change now? I mean, on certain setups, Sol was not a losing trade against Bitcoin, for sure. I think the further you go down the list, which is why I always make fun of people asking me about, completely garbage number 750 on the market cap list coins. I think that's a path to losing trades for sure for most people. But anything in the like 50 to 250 range, that's fair game for a potential outperformance. You just have to know when to take profit, obviously, and you have to be careful not to be married to any community or chart or anything like that. That stays on, Gosp. You do not want to see the rat's nest under that beanie right now. Have I looked at outside of Bitcoin ETH this cycle? Oh, I haven't even. Yeah, look, I'm happy sitting in Bitcoin and ETH. I don't have a lot of alt exposure at the moment. I trade it in and out of AVAX, in and out of Solana. I'm happy with it. Yeah, ETC again. I wouldn't touch it today. I would give it a week. See what it looks like in a week. Do I see myself holding the BTC I have for a whole year? Yeah, I mean, I'm holding. So typically if you look at the math again, this is always dangerous because what if the cycle changes? What if it's different this time? Can we really use the past to predict the future? So let's take halving, and let's look at the top. That's 348 days, 516 days, 500 days, and 300 days. So what is 300 to 500 days past April's halving? That's what? February to August 2025. That's when, to me, we're most likely to see a potential high in the market based on previous cycles. If things change, that we might pull that forward a little bit and see that a little bit sooner. But yeah, I have no reason to think like I need to close my Bitcoin positions this week, right? I'm not worried about that. Thank you, Walt. Yeah, Philip, I agree. I think this cycle is gonna surprise to the upside for sure. I don't know about 500. I don't think a million, but I think some crazy numbers are possible for sure. Yes, Maskey. That's exactly what I said. Just dump everything into Filecoin. SpinKick, we don't know the inflows yet. The only thing we know are the volumes. We will know the flows by end of day. It's hard to really know what's going on because all of these ETFs have a different BTC per share value, and Grayscale is a massive question mark as far as how much outflows we're going to see there, but we'll know by the end of the day. Why aren't I selling 48 to buy 35? You could. I talked about that. A lot of people have talked about the 618 fib. Let me find a better chart. This also, if you're trading alts, this is important as well. Obviously, if Bitcoin drops 20%, alts aren't gonna hold up at all. A lot of people have talked about this very thing, the 618 level. So the first step is getting our edge-to-edge trade. That's the full mean reversion to 50% move of the previous bear market. We've done that. It was a great trade, great setup, win for the cloud. The next step is looking at this relative to the pre-halving year. We have never exceeded the 618 Fibonacci retracement in a pre-halving year or ecosystem, or whatever you want to think about that. Pre-halving, we just don't ever exceed that. If there's anything that could take us higher, it's things like an ETF because of the flows. To me, this is not screaming bearishness, reversal. If we go back, rewind the clock to 2019, we'll look at the daily even. This what very clearly is telling you, even at the time, I'm sure I was tweeting about it, the moment you get in the cloud, there is always a potential for a bearish reversal. So not only are we in the cloud, not only did the cloud tell you to get out multiple times, but nothing ever tells you to get back in here. Like literally you're getting a bearish cloud on the daily. Okay. So you're really blessed with a whole quarter, effectively 3 months of sideways that looked pretty angry towards the end. We don't have that yet on the weekly or the daily. So I'm in no rush to say this is the top. Mathematically, it very well could be. But I don't think there's a rush to do anything just yet. Something else you could do, again, if you want to turn on the Williams fractals on the daily. This was messy at the time. You're getting tons of fractal breaches to the downside. At the very top, you got fractal breaches halfway to the top. We don't have any of that yet. We don't have a single daily fractal breach to the downside. So there's no weakness whatsoever in this current up move to suggest a reversal. So until we start to see that, then I get a little bit more nervous about a full-blown breakdown, right? Am I going to be able to navigate a random negative 25% day? Probably not, right? But I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances that this goes higher. For now. That could change next week, but for now, I like how this looks. Even on the weekly fractals, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's these little Chiron shaped things. Even on the weekly fractals, it looked fine, right? Until the very end, but it was very clear that, okay, this thing's probably over for now. We can hit play. Where's the play button? Somewhere they keep moving stuff. Is this going to go super slow? Or it goes day by day? Is that how it works? Can I go week by week? Okay, there. So if we get an equivalent on a weekly candle on the current cycle, then I will be screaming about it. I'll be saying, look, that's it. Time to go. It was fun, right? We are not, we have not seen that yet. We go to the weekly. We don't even have a fractal. There's nothing here. There's no fractals here. That's how strong this has been. You can bump that down a time frame whenever that happens. So currently the fractal is 40.6. That's the danger zone for retracement. Further, right? That's like, okay, now it's actually over. Like it's legitimately over if we're that low based on the trailing stop loss. But you can just see how strong this has been because we have not printed a single support fractal. Like it's been that good since 28. Not for nothing, by the way. These fractals work on both sides, and this week would be a bullish entry signal up here on the fractals. Bullish entry signal. That's how wild this move has been. So how the fractals work, if you get a low, high, low fractal, you get a resistance marker. As I'm drawing, you get my point. You get one of these, right? Technically, you need like a low, high, high, low, low, depending on how you have the fractal set up. So we have not gotten the inverse of that, right? We haven't gotten this entire time. It's just literally been straight up. The fractals are lagging too. It's important to keep that in mind. So we may not get, like this could be a fractal print. It would make sense that it would be at 40.6 on the weekly eventually, but that won't happen. That won't print until this candle finishes currently. So anyways, that's a long way of saying, look, we haven't tripped any trailing stop losses. Yes, it makes sense that we stop at 48, but so far so good, right? We look good. We look good. Oh God, Schnicken is hitting on me. Schnicken. Oh, Schnicken. So that same rationale for BTC, we can look at ETH in the same manner. ETH has not had a single fractal on the weekly print since the low, right? So we have to bump that down to the 3-day, and at basically 2,000, there's a trailing stop loss. Also getting a bullish re-entry today on this move, on the weekly, on the 3-day. So to me, this is not a like curry up and close situation just yet. I think we have room. We have room. If you want to fully look at the alligator fractal stuff, the Bill Williams suite, instead of the cloud, it's just 3 EMAs, the 5, 8, 13. And something else to watch for would be the moving averages crossing over each other like the TK cross. And again, this has just started, right? There's, we can go back to the Bitcoin chart and look at this. We just had a weekly 5,200 cross on Bitcoin. So this still looks really good, really, really good. I mean, this is where we crossed bullish down here at 28. Anyway, so I think we got a little bit of room. Hey, Chris. Yeah, I don't know the GBTC outflows. I don't think anybody does until the end of the day. Volume is not the same as flows, so we don't really know till the end of the day. But we will know at the end of the day, for sure. It'll be everywhere. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Let me talk about this real quick. So we exceeded 34 trillion in national debt. all this is important to like know a little bit because that also helps feed into the Bitcoin story. Like we have a runaway debt situation that isn't getting better, and we're probably going to have to inflate that away, and nobody wants to cut spending anywhere, and we keep wanting to spend money on foreign wars. So here we are. Anyway, that's the debt picture. It's not good, right? So keep that in mind. We also have reverse repo, which is just a short-term funding vehicle for banks or Tether. Tether can also participate in this. Where as a bank or an entity, you can say, hey, I have this pile of cash. Let me give it to you. It's mostly money markets. Let me give it to the Fed for a little bit of an overnight rate. So it is like the shortest of short-term rates. This got really big when rates went up. As rates are coming down, this pool of money is getting drained because it is buying the debt that we are issuing as a government, US government. As we continue to issue more and more debt, because again, we don't have our debt under control, we will continue to issue the types of debt we are issuing because that's what Yellen wants to do. So we are issuing short-term and long-term debt. The more supply that there is, the more demand there needs to be to meet up with that. Otherwise, prices change of these bonds and treasuries, yields change of these bonds and treasuries. If supply exceeds demand, yields creep higher. This is what people automatically assume is going to happen because we keep issuing more and more debt, right? I just bring this up again because we just had a treasury auction like a couple days ago. There's way more details than I'm discussing, but just as like the cliff notes to try to understand what's going on here. So we're issuing billions and billions of debt. That's a problem. The next step would be the QRA, the quarterly refunding announcement. I think that is on the 29th, but it could be the 12th. Maybe it's the 12th. I don't know. It's sometime this month where the Treasury comes out and says, this is what we think we need to issue. I think it's for the year, but it might just be the quarter. No, okay, it's the quarter. Duh, quarterly refunding. So they come out and say, here's the preview for the quarter. This is what we think we need to issue. And that gives the market a heads up what to expect, right? So that's going to be important to pay attention to because if, again, we're issuing all this debt, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to buy it? And if we're draining the one place we're getting the money from, the reverse repo, the question everyone's asking is when this goes to zero, when this drains completely, what happens? You know, does that cause liquidity problems in banks? Does it cause yields to spike? Things to watch for. Probably this quarter, we will see this drain to zero or close to zero. So March, April is the ticking time bomb here. We also had CPI today, and it was slightly higher than expected. At this point, it's like things that it's affecting you and me, it's not CPI. It's great that the year-over-year numbers are coming down. That's not the issue. The issue is we've pulled forward 10 years of inflation, and now everything is 20% higher. So unless you've received a 20% increase in income, you're pissed. You're pissed. And you notice it when you go and eat anywhere. You're reminded daily, right? Oil has come down, so the gas prices are reasonable, relatively. But, you know, groceries, childcare, everything, right? Everything is just exploding. Pet care. That's why people are pissed. So telling them that, don't worry, inflation's coming down. For most people, they don't know what that really means. And they don't care because they're still paying way more than they were a couple of years ago. But it is good news that this continues to trend lower. And you can always dig through this and see, like, based on the categories that they look at, And they even drill down, like, I think there's like a cereal category, and there's like a, I don't know, there's all sorts of weird categories if you actually look at the full report, but you can look at the abbreviated version and see like what's rising or falling on a month-to-month basis. Fuel oil way down. All in all, I don't think this is too bad of a report. On the year-over-year basis, some of this stuff is still increasing at a rapid rate. So the question for the Fed is, have we come down enough, or does it look like we are continuing in the right path to bring rates down? I think they're going to say no. I think they're going to say we're definitely done hiking, but we probably need to keep going. The market, this is the CME futures probabilities I talk about all the time. The market still thinks we're going to see 5 or 6 cuts. There's a meeting at the end of the month. We'll see what the Fed says. So the macro stuff to pay attention to for the rest of the month would be quarterly refunding announcement, the descent of the reverse repo, and then the FOMC meeting at the end of the month. All this is important because if we go into a recession, what happens? If we don't go into a recession, what happens? If yields go to infinity on bonds, is that yield curve control where the Fed has to step in and buy stuff, right? That's all important. Trueflation, which is an independent real-time data aggregation, they still have us at around 2.9%. So the next month's number should come down. But anyway, the big things are the QRA and reverse repo. That's going to be a problem. The other thing, the BTFP, which I don't have like a chart on, but the bank term funding program that they use to bail out the banks, that's also going to be ending in March. So it's worth paying attention to for Bitcoin, obviously, because if things get ugly, we're going to feel that. Or if they bail stuff out, we're going to feel that. Just worth paying attention to. Let me just read chat here. Finally caught the live. Okay, we talk about that. Inflated away. Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this a little bit in the Discord last night. Wealth redistribution mechanics, UBI, the PPP loan situation offset stimmies in a sense that kind of the high end and the low end got money. I think the next step is going to be wealth redistribution. I think it's going to be UBI and nothing else, most likely. I think that's coming eventually, no matter what, in our lifetime. But yeah, we'll just spin kick says, can we just reset the debt to zero? And so that's a debt jubilee that has happened historically for many countries. But when you reset the clock, the debt goes away, but everything else goes higher. Like real estate goes higher, commodities go higher. Bitcoin would go berserk in that situation, higher. Maskey wants to know my exact Pico price target for ETH. So we can look at, similar to Bitcoin, we can look at the log regression. And Pitchfork says plenty of room. Okay, take a mental snapshot. At the bottom of the Pitchfork. Okay, great. Plenty of upside. 10, 15, 20, I don't know. Something higher. The log curves, which is not a log regression, I don't think. But the log curves have us maybe 20, 15. I don't know. We're at the bottom, right? We're at the very bottom. The log regression Same thing. Upside is significant, but it has been incorrect thus far, right? We never quite hit this red zone. So my guess is 2x an all-time high. 2x the previous all-time high is my guess. So I think 10K is the most reasonable. We can also look at the 2-year moving average. So this is actually it should be the 1 year. I think that's what I have on here. I have to look at the code again, but the current top side is like 9K, but that's going to change throughout the cycle for the moving average multiplier. This has been fairly okay, right? It caught the top most of the time. We'll put it like that. So it gives you a ballpark. 10 to 20 is the ballpark. We'll see what happens down the line, but 10 to 20. The debt jubilee is already foretold in Filecoin. Someone's asking about the TK cross. So for the cloud, let me pull up a chart where I have that. The cloud basically uses a type of moving average for entries and exits. Down here would be a version of a bullish TK cross with price below the cloud. The next thing to look for on the daily Bitcoin chart for an exit signal would be a bearish TK cross, this red and blue line with price above the cloud. So that would be an exit signal. Last year we really didn't have, I mean, I guess we kind of did. You know, by the time we got these exit signals, it was already too late for the daily cloud. We still got those signals. It was just not at the greatest time, which is just to me a reminder that you need something else on top of the cloud signals. And for me, that something else is the fractals. If we are up here and we are crushing below fractals on the daily or the 3-day or whatever you want to look at, that is a big, big warning sign. So currently the daily fractal would be, depending on the exchange, 46.6, 43.2. That would be like a reset, but not it's over. If we crush 40, then that's probably over in the near term. 40 would probably be in the cloud, and then that would probably bring us down to 35. But we look okay in the moment. Would your credit rating get trashed in a debt forgiveness? I don't know. That's a great question. Don't you have to reset the credit? Don't you just, it's like burning all the records of anything, right? Don't you have to just reset it? How about we agree on a top and TradFi files for a altcoin basket? I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but that's my question with BitW, right? What is BitW's end goal here? What is their end game? They're not an ETF. They have other stuff besides Bitcoin. They have an ETF. Bitwise has an ETF, right? Let me just look up BitW real quick. So this is BitW. So the green line is the NAV, the real price, and the blue line is the NAV. The green line is market price. So you can see there's clearly a discount there. I don't know what fixes this because look at what's in this. It's mostly Bitcoin, but it's also a pile of other stuff. We'll say 33% non-Bitcoin. This stuff's not getting an ETF anytime soon. ETH maybe, but this other stuff, no. So I don't know what their plan is. When ETH top, I just gave you the price. I just laid out a zone. Now you want me to rub the crystal ball again and ask when ETH top. I mean, I would go back to the halving stuff, right? Let's look at, let's add Bitcoin halving. The first top was 550 days after halving. The next top was 550 days after halving. The current halving is what, April 15th? And that would be off the chart. Sometime in 2025. Later in 2025? Let's go to the weekly. Hold on. So it would be... Write this down, Masky. Are you ready? You got a pen and paper, buddy? So we'll say Q4 2025 will probably be the top for ETH. That'd be my guess. We'll say 10 to 20K, Q4 2025. That'll be the top for ETH. All right, I think that's all I got in me. I couldn't sleep last night. I was just so excited for these ETFs. So excited. How we doing trading wise? We're doing okay. You know, we didn't sell off straight to zero, so that's good. Give me a like, dislike. Throw me some comments on some other videos or this one. Thanks for tuning in. John H says October 17th. 20. I should put that in my calendar, honestly. Like a week before. Say, sell all of your ETH and don't come back for another year. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Glad the ETFs seemingly went off without a hitch here. We've got 10 minutes to the daily close and we'll find out probably by 5 o'clock Eastern what the flows look like. But yeah, that's all I got in me today. And have a good one. Always buy the Filecoin. I'm kidding, no. But yeah, that chart does look good. Filecoin does look good. All right, see you guys.